Okay, well, it's 2 minutes after 11 Pacific time, and it is a somewhat sunny day here in Southern California for a change. Many of you who we have talked to lately know I have been doing nothing but complaining about the weather. So today, no complaints. So today we're going to do a rapid fire round of 5 months of HubSpot features in 50 minutes. I counted them. I'm actually going to address 50 features in this 50 minutes. And there could be a bonus round if you guys have any specific questions. We did really enable this to be B2B focused and for kinds of clients that we typically work with. So if you don't see features that you know have been released that seem important to you but are not on this slide, please forgive me. We couldn't cover everything, so we tried to narrow it down by our own customers and friends. So the last time that we did this was right after Inbound, and there have been an awful lot of features released since then. I believe the actual number is somewhere near 180 since that day. It's a ludicrous amount, and so here we go with around 50 of them. The agenda for today is, first I'm going to talk a little bit about a trend that we're seeing that I know almost all of you are experiencing with a little bit of data. And I think people find it useful to hear this from some data, and it might help kind of allay your concerns about what you're experiencing. I have just a brief idea of what you can do about it. And then the themes we're going to talk about: administering users. This is a big one for me. I found this to be incredibly valuable as of late. More customization than ever before. Campaigns that have been improved a little bit. Quotes and payments are all continually on the upgrade, and then some hallelujah items that we've been really desperate for that finally were released. I want to first start with that first item, which is trends that we're seeing. What we have heard and seen is, and read, now that you'll see this data is from the Bridge Group, that your sales efforts in terms of cold outreach are harder than ever. And you're not wrong. And so what you can see here, I especially like this line chart on the right here, that the average number of attempts over time has substantially increased. It's nearly doubled. When we first started at Orange Marketing, we would tell people that they should make 6 to 9 attempts. And then we said 9 to 12 attempts. I've talked to people who are making as many as 20 attempts to get a hold of a cold prospect. And like I said, you're not insane. This all had to do with the pandemic and how many people were at home and how many other people were desperate to make efforts. So if you are in this bucket, you are not alone. As you can see here, there are people making very large number of attempts. Don't be in this group, okay? You're just not going to make any results. But the other flip side of this is even worse, that the number of quality conversations is actually going down. So despite the number of efforts going up, the number of quality conversations is going down. So again, this is not your imagination. It's harder than ever to reach people by cold outreach. You have to try for many, many more attempts, and you're still going to have fewer conversations. So here's some data that we've seen in our own clients. They have been anonymized to protect the innocent. This particular company is very, very good at their cold email strategy, super personal, super targeted, really well done. And so you can see that their reply rate and click rate has still gone really up and down a lot over the past year. Whereas another company that has a little bit more of a haphazard email strategy, but has a good product, sees a lot more of a haphazard impact of their sales outreach as well. The real moral of the story here is that if you're going to do cold outreach, you need to make it really good. And I, suggest again, as usual, that the, really good at email strategy, meaning it's really personalized, it's really targeted, it's timely, and it's relevant, is going to be your best bet. So Rebecca talked to me a little bit about a email that she received right on time. So she was having challenges with the client's email deliverability. She got an email that said, "Do you need help with your deliverability?" It was a short and sweet and had a quick way to see some metrics that might be meaningful to her and a way to book a meeting, and she did. So relevant, timely, and keep at it are the 2 cents for this meeting. Okay, so now on to the main event. I hope that was useful. Like I said, I know everybody is really doing their outreach, so we just wanted to add that in there. Oops, I missed a slide, and it's an important one. Okay. Many of you may know that I love themes. I could go into my garage right now and throw a luau or a fiesta or a Mardi Gras party or any other number of things. I especially love 80s themes parties. And so I did have to throw in some graphics for interest's sake anyway, so I kept them all on a theme. Pay attention to the theme, and there will be some prizes of HubSpot swag at the end. I have a box of them right on the side of my desk here. But we are going to talk about administering users, CRM customization, campaigns and collaboration, quotes and payments, and the extra goodies. And just note my pictures here because you'll see them again. All right, let's talk about my favorite, new user management. So the old way of administrating users involved a large number of steps if you really wanted to get it right and get people to adopt and have their HubSpot view custom to them in a way that they could be most efficient. So you had to create the user, which involved sending them the email. Then you needed to set all of their permissions. There have been some ability to copy and so forth, but the permission sets were really kind of clunky. You needed to add them to a team. You need to go to a different place to assign a paid sales seat or service seat. Then the most important and hardest part, and we have our own documentation for this ad nauseum, is the instruction. How to set up your profile, how to set up your signature, how to set your meeting, how to attach your calendar, your email, your phone number, all that kind of stuff. And then we have our own documentation for this, training people how to adjust their filters and views, how to set their index page columns, how to set up task queues, how to set up their notifications, how to show which properties are shown in different places. So all of those things were things that you had to either get on the phone with them and walk them through it or provide very, very detailed instructions, and even then they wouldn't do it. And so the old way of administrating users was really a pain. But now there are some things that you can set and forget. And these pictures are really small for you, I am sure. So I'm going to describe them. The first is this thing called preset, and it is really truly a godsend, and it has been growing over the past few months. So in terms of what you can set on your preset, which can be assigned to a user or a team, is their default homepage, which for sales, it might be deals, or it might be a dashboard where you have stuff that's just for them. For marketing, it could be something else like campaigns, and a default dashboard that they see when they log in, language and data number format. But more importantly, email signature. You can set every user's email signature by team. It allows you to use email tokens or tokens in general to ascribe things like it obviously puts in their name, phone number, email, but you can also put in things like job title, location, region, etc. So that's a big deal. There's also a thing called a notifications profile, which you'll see here in this middle picture, where you can set the notifications for your users in a specific team. I can't tell you how much of a pain this has been in the past, where people would say they were getting too many notifications, they weren't getting notifications, they didn't know how to deal with notifications. And there are so many that it is very difficult for an average, sales user or an average user in support or what have you to pick which notifications that they need or want. And so you can actually set them for them now, which will really help them to know when they need to do something. And thirdly, and sadly enterprise only, is an item called permission set, which allows you to just set the types of permissions that you want for each type of users. And it makes it an absolute breeze to just 1, 2, 3 these things to have your users and teams set up. The newest in all of this is this weird little picture down there, which is very hard to see. But you can see this as default views, and holy cow, was I excited about this. You can not just set what columns that somebody will see in their contact list view or their company's list view, but also the tabs of views that you have created for them. This is something we always do. We do create views, as you see here, new leads and in progress leads. We very commonly set our views by lead status so that sales reps will know what to do. First do these, then do these. But these can differ by your role in the company. And now your filter views can too. So you can set them by team. It is very, very cool. So this is a list of all of the feature names that have been released related to administration of users. These are the actual names. So if you wanted to search for them in the updates, that's what they're called. I wanted to add a couple of notes here, which are were released previously to inbound. Login as user is incredibly helpful, which I'm going to demonstrate in a second. And sending a link to a new user so that if you don't have to worry about their login link being lost in their bulk folders. Recommended playbooks, I'm not going to have a chance to talk about today, but if anybody wants to talk about playbooks, I'm a huge fan. So hit me up later on that. So I want to talk about the new way of administering users. Before it was, 8 or 9 steps. And now if you do this all correctly, you can create users. You can upload a list of a comma separated list of people. If you have enterprise, you can just pick a permission set, add them to a team, add a preset, and you are done. This is what it looks like. You obviously can enter users' emails multiple at a time, so you can add them, with a comma, and so you can add multiple users at a time. If you have enterprise, you can use a saved permission set, so you'll just click the box that says save permission set, and then you just pick whichever one you want, and obviously name them something rather obvious, but then you'll be able to see what all they can do. Also, do hit me up if you want a list of what I recommend for a sales rep. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about that, about what they should have and shouldn't have. So if you're interested, let me know. So once that happens, you get this new box. So send an invite link, which allows you to grab the link for them and send it to them in a private email from you so that they get it. Add them to a team right there and set up the presets. So if you open those up, which it's not totally obvious that you can, if you open them up, you add them to their primary team and their secondary team, which is weird because they actually use, when you're setting up teams, primary and secondary, and here they say main and extra, just odd note to self, and then your preset. And again, your preset covers a lot here. So then once you've done those things, the last thing that you're going to remind your reps to do or your users to do is update their profile. So these are still the things you have to get them to do. They still need to put in their pretty picture. They still need to enter their name with proper capitalization and what they're called. They still need to add their phone number, etc. And they still need to connect their email, calendar, and phone. Extra number 51 feature is that the Outlook integration has now been actually verified with Microsoft, so it does seem to be working a bit better for many users. And then the other things you can do to tidy up is set up their meetings properly because they are not very good at this. Extra feature number 52. You can now edit other people's meetings and you can see everybody's meetings. So this is a big deal. I'm going to add a resource to this before I send this document out to everyone. You can also add your users to your shared task queues. I'm a huge fan of task queues, and I recommend that you put people in shared task queues so that you can train on a specific process. And then check any reports that you may have that are referencing specific users rather than a team. So this could include reports, workflows, and other kinds of filters or items that are reflecting an individual rather than a team, especially like if somebody has departed and you've replaced them with someone else. Recommend please don't do this. It is much better to use Teams because this requires less administration. So save yourself a little trouble down the line by really setting up your teams correctly. All right, hope that was a good one. Everybody in the chat say, yay, I thought that was great, or some such thing. I just want to make sure you're all there because it's very sad here. Okay, there's some yays. Okay, good. Thank you. Do these things like seem helpful to you, administrating other items? Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so much for the validation. I need it desperately. Next item, let's talk about customization. So again, we started this at Inbound. There was a lot of announcements about customization at Inbound, but now we are on steroids. So on the old way, you could customize your create object form. You could customize that left navigation. You could add sections to the left side by team if you had enterprise. You could add certain third-party apps or custom CRM cards on the right rail if you wanted to. The users could rearrange their panels and you could customize some of their cards. But now you can customize much more than ever. So the CRM record layouts, all of the different record layouts, you can totally customize them all by team. And this is a huge, huge big deal. The left conditional customization is now in professional. Again, this is great because you really only want to show people what they need and not what they don't. Lots of improvements on the deals and the deal board. Colored deal tags, you're going to see a picture of in a second. Customizing the create record form by pipeline. That's exactly what it sounds like. So it has been that your create deal, for example, was only by it was just universal. And so whether you had different kinds of partner deals or you had different kinds of end user deals or all kinds of different things, then you still had to see the whole superset of items to collect. But now you can make them as long or as short as you need by your pipeline. You can also configure associations when creating a record. So if you're creating a deal, you can require a contact and company to be associated to it. That makes a big difference in your reporting down the line. It's a little bit of an extra step, but this can really result in better data integrity later. So do consider the configuring of associations when you're creating any object. There's an opportunity for two things: shared deals and deal collaborators. We have very often been asked, how do I add my sales engineer onto here? How do I make sure my sales SDR is being compensated for what they've done? So shared deals and deal collaborators can help with that. Bonus feature number 53, I think I'm on, is that if you have enterprise, you can actually have split deals by commission, so you can actually calculate those separately. So that's kind of a big deal. The other item that's related to creating a record, which I forgot because it's this last bullet point here, is that you can have requirements by pipeline when you're creating a deal. So previously, if you were creating a deal from scratch and you were setting the stage that it was into a later stage, whereupon normally in your pipeline, you might move them over and it would bring that little pop-up that says you need to add these fields. Now you can do that when they're actually creating it. So they can't bypass collecting information that is required later down in the funnel. The other of these that doesn't really fit in these is recommended playbooks based on contact or ticket property values. Previously, you could recommend playbooks based on deal stage, but this is nice because you can use different types of contact types, for example, could recommend different playbooks. Again, I'm a huge fan of those, so do consider using playbooks. They're available to everyone on professional and above now. What does this all look like? These are the pictures that they use to demonstrate all of the areas that you can customize. And you can see they are legion. So you can customize this overview tab, which previously didn't exist. You can add a custom tab. It's kind of weird because it's really redundant in my opinion, but you can. You can customize your right-hand items, your left-hand items. This is the overview data. This is called data. I can't remember the name of this one, but highlights, data highlights, I think is the name of this one. And then what associated objects you see below here, and the cards. And you'll see a little bit of an example of this in 1 second. And then this is how that association looks like. You can also create all of your association labels for any objects and how they relate to each other. So this is how that looks. So in this particular picture, this is from our demo account. Here's that highlights right here. I have the lead status, the persona, and the last activity date here. So if I'm a sales rep, those might be items that are useful to me right away. Then the recent communications, which is a summary of all of the detail that you would find in this activities tab that you're used to seeing. Their companies and deals. And in this particular case, I'm assuming I'm a sales rep. I don't need much more than that. So on my left-hand side, I've got a custom panel that's showing my sales discovery. This is all I need right now. And that's what I'm supposed to be doing as a sales rep, is filling in this specific information. On the right rail, you can see that I've got my companies and deals, again, as here, and then my playbooks, getting the hint here on the playbooks. And then the attachments, because let's say I need to attach a proposal or some such thing here. So this is a really how a record itself can look. I just pointed all of those things out, so yay. This is how a deal board could look with some of the new features that I just mentioned. So a couple things that I want to point out here. You're used to seeing this white and blue different cards, right? You know that you can customize how soon that they turn blue. Some people call that gray. I don't know. It looks like blue to me. But the default is to turn blue after 7 days, but you can change that if you need it to be like, if you have very long-term deals and you don't need them to be updated, but every 30 days or every 60 days, change that so it doesn't kind of give you this visual clutter. And then you're also going to see these new deal tags. And so these little red ones here have close date, past due. So that's something that you may really want to bring a visual attention to. You're also seeing here the different things that you can change. These are by default. The last time there was an activity and the next activity scheduled. But here you can change these, and again by pipeline, amount, close date, and deal type. So depending on, and this one has current products over here. So depending on your business, you can show exactly what you need by pipeline. Word of caution. Things can get very hectic very fast. So here I have added a whole bunch of these tags, these new tags. As soon as this was released, which was about a week or two ago, I was like, oh boy, I can really see this happening right now. And so I just wanted to provide a word of warning that too many of these tags could get very hectic very, very, very quickly. And, you know, I was just playing around, and I just did want to point out that you can also use emojis. So maybe you want to. You can use emojis in everything. You can use emojis in properties too. Strong recommend. So as always, the best practices include plan this out before you execute it. Like, think about how you want to customize all your items and for which teams. I've created kind of a really wonky of a little Excel template. I'm happy to give it to anybody who wants it about how to plan that out. Be super smart about your teams, as many as necessary, as few as possible. And hey, look, that's my next line there. If you have met me, you have heard me say that, because I really believe that you shouldn't have more there's too much precision in a way that's not usable. So I really want you to think about your teams and how much difference they need and how much you need them for reporting. You may want to have them by division and so forth. Keep in mind, you can now have nested teams in enterprise. So you could have team A and team B under the sales team, and the sales team could be under the global sales team. So that's available in enterprise. That's 54 if you're counting. But also do keep in mind that you want to put your individual user, its primary team should be the lowest level that they participate in, and their secondary team should be the higher one if needed. Avoid clutter. As you saw, those colored tags can get really wacky fast. So only do something that you really want to draw somebody's attention to. Test it all out to see how it looks in all different users. So assign yourself as a different user, or assign your user to a different team so you see what they see, and then train and train and train and train and train and train and never stop training. Okay. Campaign and collaborate. If you have been paying attention to the theme, you saw that it was 80s movies. There was a lot of trouble finding a campaign movie for this, but you know, campaigns have been getting a facelift over the last year. And when we last did this presentation after Inbound, this is a literal copy and paste from what had been released then, and we were very excited about those changes then. Our campaign ROI, custom filters and list views, collaboration. At that time, there was only tasks, and my assessment of that was meh. The calendar, which was cool, cloning and templates. OMG, I'm still just batty about that. But now that we have added a little bit more of improvement on collaboration and comments. So here is a picture of what these comments look like, and you're going to see a little bit more of the collaboration in a second. So it kind of started here in the marketing functions, but you're going to see how these comments get very helpful in a second with workflows. And there's a little checkbox. So just like in Google Docs, you can have a comment and close it. So it's been resolved. Then you can look at tasks that you can assign to other people, or that you can use to make things show up on your calendar. So the calendar can actually be quite useful, even if you are using tasks as placeholders. So these are some, you know, nice improvements to make the campaigns tab really useful. But here's where the biggies are. Custom properties for your campaigns. So this is very, very new, just over the last couple of weeks. And so we're trying to figure out some of the use cases here, which can include, you know, things like asset type, or which quarter this was in or for. If you're going to try to separate a theme versus an asset type, if you're going to have multiple campaigns rolled up into a big theme. If it's for a certain partner that you're going to need to pay later, or if you're using or testing a certain channel. The reason it matters is because then you can use all of these things in your reporting. Yay, yay. You can also associate marketing events, and HubSpot's word for marketing events is really its own special items that typically include online and offline events platforms like Zoom, webinars, Eventbrite. There are 4 or 5 others total, but it's not like any event that you made up. You can see this new influence contact metrics and inclusion of them on this right-hand picture in the report in the list creation. So you can create a list of contacts who were influenced by a certain campaign and do whatever it is you want to do with them, report on them, follow up with them, or what have you. And then exporting your whole campaigns list. Many of you do this anyway. And now your exporting of your campaigns list can actually be much more meaningful. So, okay, so this is what the influence revenue report looks like now. This is one of the new reports. So protecting the campaigns to protect the innocent here. But here you can see like pretty nice dollar impact of these campaigns over the past, looks like 7 or 8 months here. So good stuff, and nice to be able to see the influence revenue. Just as a reminder, influence typically means things like opened, clicked, visited, attended, etc. Okay. Does anyone want to say the words with me? Does anyone want to type in what I was going to say here about collaborate? Come on. You don't want me to sing it, do you? Oh, thank you very much. Stop, collaborate, and listen. Did that in karaoke last year. It was terrible. It was a really terrible idea. But here's what collaboration can look like across the whole universe of HubSpot now. You see this big orange thing called comments mode. And then this one here is in a landing page. And this one for email, this is a landing page. And this is in workflows. And so they don't all work exactly the same, strangely. But in some of the cases on the right-hand side, you're going to see a little button. And this little tiny things here is what you're going to see. And it'll open up, and then in workflows and in emails, you're going to get this thing called comment mode, where you can click anywhere on the page and add your comment right there. So this is especially useful in the workflows, because if you're trying to explain to somebody why you did something, or you're trying to ask somebody, what does this really do? It is very hard to communicate that on a big branching workflow where you're like, this specific thing, why are you doing that? Or why did you do that? Or how can we fix this? Or what are we going to do here? So the true collaboration is here. For emails, there is also 55, if you're counting, the ability to have email workflow for approval. So if you need to route something for approval before it's sent, that's now a possibility. So this collaboration has really been expanded. And I, at first, was a little bit skeptical because I hadn't really used it that much. But I am very, very bullish on this now. It helps with communicating a lot. If you comment to people, it will be sent to them by email. If they respond to you, the thread will be replied back to you. So you can actually have like a real conversation about something without having to log in every time and look at the comments board. So I do really think this is valuable for all of you who are working with others in your team. Okay, quotes and payments are, again, kind of coming along, and there's a lot of money and time being put into payments, especially. I think HubSpot felt like the quotes had already been fairly fully functional, and will demonstrate that. Much, much more useful than it used to be in B2B, and we're finding really nice use cases for quotes and payments. This is one of my late favorite actors, and maybe you'll remember that movie, maybe you won't. Okay, so what's new in payments? So subscriptions. So like I said, more interesting for B2B use cases, especially some of our clients. So here we're talking about the ability to have recurring subscriptions and payments. Subscriptions come with payments. So I'm going to say that again. You don't get subscriptions without setting up payments. So this is a good thing because now you can actually, if you have a simple recurring revenue product, you have a straightforward product, then you can set up a subscription. You can set up a subscription with a future date, and you can collect those payments and put them in your accounting platform. There is now the ability to link to all of your separate types of terms and conditions, payment terms. I think there are 3 different items that you can link to. So it makes your quotes and your payments look very professional, but still allow you to meet your obligations for compliance and what have you. You can also have multiple subscriptions. So somebody could be running more than one subscription concurrently. Eric, I know you're on the call, so I think this may solve your use case. I'm not sure. There are also the ability for payments links to have optional products. So if you've ever checked out in any kind of e-commerce platform, there's a place where it's like, do you also want an XYZ? This is a good place where you can lob up some items that people might want to buy while they're at it. Maybe if you are not in a subscription business, maybe you are, or maybe you are selling something that needs installation, or maybe you're selling something that needs some services associated with it. I think this is a way to let people optionally choose what they might want to pay for. There's also the ability to write in any custom taxes and fees if you need to calculate those offline if they are non-standard, and the ability to add discount codes. So up to, pretty much any amount that you want to discount things, so you can have a perceived value and actual value. You can discount something to 0 if you want. And quotes and products, just a few feature updates there. This customized quote template, you can, the template itself relates to your product library. So these are mostly items that they have updated related to products. You probably know that HubSpot's trying to get stronger in e-commerce. And so this is the ability to support integration with e-commerce platforms and so forth, but it's equally valuable for us B2B companies. If anybody from LabelTrax here, I don't see. But the LabelTrax team, they have hundreds of products in their product library, different currencies, different languages even. And the ability to upload images to the library and updates to the library and clone products is very useful if you're going to really manage a product library. It is, it's quite useful when you're going to actually build a whole stream where you're going to go from a lead to a deal to a quote to a payment and bring that invoice back around. So it really does work, and there's now invoice syncing from NetSuite and Microsoft Dynamics and QuickBooks. So you really can build, as long as you have a relatively simple product, a full complete cycle of revenue. That's been the goal. Just as a note, you can customize these quote templates quite well, especially if you have a developer helping you out. I have seen a couple that you can buy, but I cannot figure out where to find them on the marketplace. But quote templates, they're pretty flexible as it is, and you can make them look really nice. But I think there's going to be more improvements to come there as well. Okay, we're looking good on time. I have 11 minutes to cover the best of the rest. These didn't fall neatly into any categories, but they are really awesome. And, when I asked our team, like, which things you want to make sure that we cover, this very first one was the very first one. Oh, look at that. Ooh, pay a little bit longer attention to this picture because there's more here. Okay, there you go. The very first one is random sampling. This was previously not possible. We have engaged in totally silly workarounds like creating custom fields and then hitting random lists and then trying to, reshuffle those and all kinds of silly things in order to get a random sample, so that you could, instead of doing A/B testing, which is possible on things like email and landing pages and website pages, if you needed to do any other kind of testing, you had to do kooky workarounds to do it. But now you can take any list and create a random sample from it using a percentage or a number. And so it is really nice to be able to do that. If you wanted to do things like the first thing we're going to try here is testing of sequences. This will be a very exciting way to have a real way to test, which sequences work better by sender and so forth. So this was brand new, super exciting. Whole bunch of improvements to imports and validation rules. This is meant to help keep your data much cleaner. We all know that garbage in is garbage out. And so the imports are really helping to make that be much, much cleaner. So it allows us to surface the descriptions of the fields so you pick the right one. This makes using that description box for your properties more important than ever. So I'll give you a great example. A lot of companies have something called account type and customer type, for example. And if you don't know the differences between two of those, you could put data in the wrong place very, very easily. And so you can just check and see what is this and what belongs there. It will also check your first 100 rows. Previously, it would only check 5 rows. So if you had junky data further down in your file, it wouldn't notice it. It could just ignore it. But now it's going to validate the first 100 rows for not just do your properties match, but does all the data validate? So you can set data validation for all of these things now. For text fields, you can set a length. For number fields, you can set decimal points. You can set min maxes. You can set unique values. There's a lot of things you can do. Dates, you can set, you know, previous to today only or future dates only. Lots of great choices for data validation. When you're uploading, you can now choose, and this picture is very small, I know, but you can choose whether you want to add new records, update records, or do both. So if you're only updating records and you don't want it to add any new records, that's a new option for you. You can also, that number formatting that you're using in your validation can be used in reports. So your reports can actually have properties that make it look normal, like percentages and what have you. You can add custom currency properties. So that was previously not possible. So if you wanted to upload currency in pounds, then now you can. One of the ones that has been useful to me in the recent past is importing and joining with custom IDs. This primarily applies to custom objects, but you can use a custom ID in order to join certain objects together when you're uploading them. And then very fun, and as shown in this picture over here on the right, finally, at long last, you can import history of activities. The only thing previously available here was notes, but now you can have calls, emails, meetings, notes, and tasks. So if you are migrating from another platform, this becomes very important. Or if you've somehow created these tasks in a offline or a spreadsheet type of item, now you can put them into your system, which will be very useful to you in the future. Okay, another hugely fun, exciting item is the ability to personalize, use personalization tokens within tasks, within sequences. I say that slowly because it only is available within tasks, within sequences, not within just create task ad hoc and not within create tasks and workflows. But within tasks in sequences, you can now use personalization tokens. So you can do, this example is a little bit trite, I'll be honest, like I've already used it for way cooler stuff. Call, contact, first name, and leave voicemail, just so your list of tasks is not so, it looks very, it would look really similar, right? It would say, call and follow up, call and follow up, call and follow up. You like need to know which one you're working on, otherwise they all look the same. And here it has your company name and the job function. You can put, if you are going to say call, contact, first name, and leave voicemail, put the whole voicemail script in there if you're trying to help your reps out, right? Or if you're doing a LinkedIn, like a lot of times I'll do a LinkedIn follow-up here, write the LinkedIn message for them and populate it with the person's name and company name. Like make it really easy for your sales reps to do their job here. So I really, really love this one. Parent and child association calculations. This seems really weird, but it's really important. It's the ability to create custom properties to calculate the number of associated somethings or the number of somethings within parent-child or within associated objects. Associated objects, it was previously there, but I don't know that many people knew about it. But this allows you to roll up, show me all of the deals for Kellogg's, even if Kellogg's has 50 child companies, and because that's something you might really want to know. I recently used this for number of custom objects by contact or by company. And again, this is a calculation, but it allows you to select association labels of how many primary contacts do we have? How many installer contacts do we have? So you can really create your own calculation properties here. I know this picture is small, but you're going to create a new calculated property, and the minute you pick sum, it's going to let you see like what you might want to count and to create conditions of when that happens. So this is actually a very, very cool feature. Marketing email activity in reporting. This is pretty awesome and wasn't previously available. So now you can actually do things like day parting and analyze your emails by day parting or by other kinds of lists or by segments or by campaign, now that that's available. So all of this open, click, delivery rate, and so forth was not previously available. This is a nice new one to check out. This was released late last year, but they kept saying it was available and we never really saw it, but now it's really available, which is drag and drop functionality in all blog posts. You can add things like forms or quotes or picture galleries or videos and whatnot, somewhat dependent on your theme, but you can definitely richen up your blog posts. And before it was like pretty hard to do in the rich text editor, but now you can actually grab sections and make it look way, way cooler. Okay, that's it, 11:48. Now you want to know, if you don't already have it, where is this stuff? Where can I read more about it besides calling Kelsey, which you are welcome to do? But where you're going to go is under your pretty little picture, scroll down, open up your pretty picture and scroll down to product updates. So it's going to give them to you in chronological order. You can sort by these buckets. I got to tell you, I find they don't do a great job of putting them in the right bucket. So, make a habit of just kind of scrolling through them. And then if anything says something like beta, make sure you go to this early access betas block down here and turn it on for yourself or for your whole portal. So everybody, all of you here, I think, are super users as far as I can see from looking at my attendee list here. So, I think you should be able to all get to both of these things to check these things out in more detail. So now for the game portion of the program. And you're going to want to engage with the chat here. If you can name 6 out of the 9 movies that were featured into the presentation here, then you will get some HubSpot swag. So I'm going to be very curious to see if anybody can do that. That'll be, oh, okay, yeah, somebody's already mentioned one of them. Okay, yeah, got it, yeah. Okay, keep going. I'm going to open up to anybody who has a specific question. There is a thing called raise hand that is next to your participant list, and I am happy to open up the actual talking thing. All right, who's that? Let's see who's got their hand up here. You gotta scroll. I'm scrolling. Who is it? Where are you? Oh, Alex. Okay. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing great, thank you. I'm curious about blog post possibilities. So now we can use any custom models we create for theme?
As far as I know, yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Cool, huh?
We need to try. We need to try.
Yeah, absolutely. But as far as I know, yeah.
Cool, cool.
Good one. All right. Thank you, Alex. Good to talk to you.
See you.
All right. Anyone else? Little hands up. Okay, well, I'm gonna look at see if anybody got the game here. And I will send out the presentation to everybody who registered, whether or not you were able to attend. So if your colleagues registered and weren't able to attend, I'll get that out to them. I'm looking in the chat here to see if there's any other questions. So I'm going to send the presentation out. If you would like to, just ask questions about any of these things in detail, please do reach out to us. I'm going to check the chat itself and see if I can find any winners. And if there are any winners, I will reach out to you for your address and send you some swag. And so I think that's it. I fulfilled my promise of more than 50 features in 50 minutes over the last 5 months. And I hope you found it helpful. And again, appreciate your time. I know that's a lot to take in, so please go check out the documentation for yourself later. All right, have a good one.